Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, December 9th, and welcome to another edition of the Tom's Hardware Show. Today, I have Dale Ludwig. I hope I pronounced that right, Dale, from
That's
Cherry
fine.
with me, and we'll be talking about Cherry's new keyboards, some of its switch innovations, what the company has planned for the future, and the like. But before we get started, let's roll the thing. So, welcome again to the Tom's Hardware Show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me, Dale. I am your host, Michelle Earhart. Dale, did I butcher your last name?
No, actually, it's perfect. Coming from a German company, you pronounced it in the German format, so that's fantastic.
Wonderful. I always grew up. I have a German last name myself, Earhart. I always grew up hearing Earnhardt, all sorts of permutations. So I'm glad I did it right.
Uh, yep, no problem.
Awesome. So, Dale, you are here with Cherry. You are there. What's your position with Cherry?
So, first of all, thanks very
It
much for
seems
the
like
opportunity
Dale
to talk
is
to you.
frozen a little
I
bit.
am the business
Just
development manager.
Oh, sorry.
Am
Hello?
I back?
Yes, you are back. Sorry, everyone. As always, this is a live show. We're dealing with all sorts of different internet connections, so you might have a little wrinkles throughout. But we hope to please bear with us, and we'll pick up as we're able.
So sorry about that. Yeah, I am the business development manager. One of my responsibilities at Cherry Americas is to manage and promote the introduction of new products in the Americas. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. We've got some really exciting stuff coming in 2022. So
Great. Thank you for joining us, Dale. As always, we're happy to have you. We're happy to have our viewers as well. Feel free to leave comments or questions in the chat box down below, and we will bring them up on air, and I will ask them of Dale. So, Dale, I understand that you have a few products to show us today.
we do. Excited to show you those. For your viewers who may not be familiar with Cherry, we are the leading global designer and
So again, we're having internet issues, but I'm
manufacturer.
happy to
One of them
introduce
here.
Cherry for Dale. Oh, Dale is back.
uh, Hopefully, you know where I stopped and when I started.
So
So
you just started to introduce Cherry. Cherry, as like hardcore gamers know, is in plenty of keyboards across all sorts of different companies. Also makes its own products, and you make like some of the most trusted mechanical switches out there. Correct?
awesome, thank you. Yeah, so some of the exciting other news for Cherry in 2021 was that we went public. So we are proud to be a publicly owned and traded company once again, with almost a $1 billion valuation. So pretty exciting time in 2021 for us. Um, yeah, we pride ourselves on providing durable input devices and key switches for professional users and gaming enthusiasts. Um, your users may know likely of our strong presence in the gaming industry with over 60 billion mechanical key switches that have been manufactured in our German facility and supplied to many quality keyboard manufacturers throughout the world. So we're pretty proud of our history and the reputation that we have for quality, and all of our products. We strive to make sure that they really follow through in the Cherry name.
Awesome. Now, if you're not aware, so there's basically two types of keyboards out there. There's membrane keyboards and mechanical keyboards. A few variations, but mechanical keyboards tend to be considered the higher end of those. They have nice clicky buttons that are loud and present plenty of audio and physical feedback for you. Great for people who are typing a lot. and for gamers who want sort of fast actuation and to be able to know when they pressed a button.
Correct. And in Europe, Cherry has a major presence in the consumer, enterprise, and healthcare markets. We at Cherry Americas have only recently entered the consumer market, um, but we have a full product line from membrane all the way up to our own mechanical switches and our own keyboards. And we'll show you some of those today and some of the other really cool recent innovations that we've been working on. So would you like me to dive into that?
Yeah, awesome. So, like, I'm mostly familiar with using Cherry switches in keyboards from other companies. So, like, recently, Asus has released something called the ROG Falcon, which has Cherry red switches, which are like some of Cherry's faster switches. But I understand that you're here to show us a keyboard that comes straight from Cherry itself.
Yeah, we've got several new offerings. We have a new product line coming out that we are branding as the MX Professional line, and out of that we will have 7 new mechanical keyboards, and in that family, you will have an option of MX, MX low profile, and ultimately the ultra low profile newest switch, being backlit or RGB and having onboard memory or not. So we're really positioning this line to the professional user. Um, so whether you are programming, writing, or engaging in after work gaming sessions, this is the product that we're coming out to support your lifestyle. So the first one I'm going to grab, and I'm hoping that I do a really good job with my camera work, is our
No
MX3.
worries. Working from home, it's always interesting to show things off on a camera. I've learned a lot doing this show. I
Yeah, we
can
should
sort of
have.
see the right-hand side of the keyboard.
Okay, yeah, we
There
should
we go.
have.
Now I've got everything in
Yeah,
there.
good. Okay. I should have had a practice session for holding keyboards up prior. But so MX 3.0F, we're really excited about this product. It is full aluminum housing. We are starting in the US with the MX Red Silent switch, and we'll likely expand that out to the browns, and then likely blacks as well.
Awesome. Now, I know I said that mechanical keyboards tend to be loud, but that's a bit of a misnomer. There's all sorts of different types of switches that go in mechanical keyboards. They tend to vary from linear switches, which are quieter and faster, to tactile switches, which are a bit louder and heavier, but offer like really nice clicky feedback. You mentioned that this is coming with red switches. You're going to expand to browns and black. I know what those mean, but do you want to explain really quickly what all the different colored cherry switches are?
Yeah, so I actually have a fantastic cherry tester that we do provide to some
Oh,
customers
awesome.
that does help you with feel. So if you are not sure what to buy, you can contact.
Again, please bear with us. We are shooting the show from New York, and Dale
Terms.
is located in Wisconsin, I believe. So there's some lag issues, but it seems like Dale is back.
Sorry about that.
No
Um,
worries.
yeah, so differences between switches mainly focus around tactile or linear feel, actuation point, and how much pressure is required to press the switch. So where a red switch might be around 45 centinewtons, and a black might go up to 50, 60 centinewtons. And while that is a very teeny amount of force
Hmm.
as you are typing throughout the day, it makes a difference. So, and it's just dependent upon your strength, the feel that you like, whether you like the snap over action, and whether you like it to click. So we have a bunch of those options. Um, Most interesting is we've expanded this out. The key switch line recently. Last year, we went and upgraded the MX line to the Hyperglide. So that reduced our bounce time as well as doubling our life. So each switch is now 100 million operations on the MX switch. And this is one example of that. Obviously, you're likely familiar. And then
Hmm.
we have the MX low profile switch.
Right.
And
So, can you explain really quickly what the difference is between those?
yeah, so overall, obviously, we're trying to save height in the keyboard. And so when you are um, looking at um, the height of your hand on the keyboard and the way that you type, and whether or not you want to use a palm rest to raise your hand up or not, whatever's most comfortable for you, for your ergonomics, um, will help drive that switch. Also, operate point and feel definitely play into that decision, right? So I have also our new MX10 that I brought
Hmm.
today, and that has the low profile switch in it, the red low profile. And you can see kind of that overall height difference between the two keyboards. So pretty substantial difference. Um,
So you
and
get like a
us,
difference there in portability and a difference in feel. Some people might want a little bit of a longer keystroke in order to get more feedback from it. And then some people might just want to like get it down instantly, fastest as they can, right?
exactly, yeah. It really depends on your typing style and playability, the way that you wish to play the game.
Awesome. So, as long as while we're talking about playability, you showed off earlier the MX 3.0S, which you mentioned as sort of a professional product that can also be used to game. And you said you're launching it with cherry red switches, which I'm familiar with as being very popular among gamers because they tend to be a little more lightweight, faster actuating, just like get actions in as quickly as possible. With this
Right.
board being sort of a hybrid office and gaming environment, what was the decision behind choosing to use red switches for that?
Yeah, so we chose Red Silent for this purpose because it's a really good crossover between all day typing and playing, as well as having the silent option. You can do it. You can type around your family. You can type in an office and not bother your cohorts. So there was a lot of thought as to what that first release would be and what that dynamic is in the marketplace. So
Great.
yeah.
And then you said that you're thinking of expanding to browns and blacks. When do you think we might see those in the MX 3.0S?
Yeah, I would think Q2, Q3 is when we will expand this line out. So, like I said, we've got 7 other products total coming out in this line, and that doesn't include the additional flavors of switches for each of the individual products that we're talking about launching.
Awesome. So we've been talking about switches a lot. Cherry is very well known for switches, but this is like a whole keyboard, right? And I mostly know Cherry from its switches, but like, what's the advantage to buying a keyboard from Cherry? You said that it has like a full aluminum housing, which I know is kind of a more premium feature, but I'll let you discuss what else you can get with this.
Yeah, so I think that's really the differentiator between Cherry and other keyboard manufacturers is we make the key switches. We've spent a lifetime dialing in the feel of a key switch for specific purposes, for specific uses. And so we know that we want to maintain that feel. So we provide the structure around those keys to really support it. Um, Anywhere from a $15 rubber dome keyboard all the way up to a $300 high-end, fully um, done keyboard for an OEM manufacturer. Uh, we pride ourselves on those keyboards being strategically different feel than our competitors because if you're going to type on a $15 keyboard, you're going to probably do it all day long, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, um, for years. And we want that ergonomic feel to, and so you can enjoy it. So you're not going to get tired out every day. It really protects you from um, physical harm as much as possible. I have to say that.
Yeah. That's
um,
something that I've grown really I had to get a wrist rest while working from the office just with how much typing I've been doing.
yeah,
Or I mean
yep,
working from home.
yeah. And so, part of our strategy is also recognizing not just the ergonomics of our typical keyboard, but also coming out with an ergonomic line of products. And so we also have that in our consumer product
Awesome.
portfolio.
Would you mind showing the 3.0s on screen again really quickly?
Absolutely. I'm sorry I can't light it up for you,
Oh,
but
no worries. I'm actually curious then. You mentioned ergonomic, focus that Cherry has that other companies can't do. What type of keycaps are these? Are these ABS? Are these PBT? I guess it's like, what's the feel when using this keyboard?
yeah, I wish that you could hear this. I'm actually, let's see if I can, that is,
Pretty quiet.
yeah, so this is the red silent in this aluminum housing, which is mostly one piece. You will not find any fasteners exposed on the outside of the cases. You will
Nice.
see that we have provided metal support legs that actually screw in, so you can provide that. Also, we provide a, sorry, armrest option
Okay. Is
as an
that
accessory.
magnetic?
It is not magnetic, but as you can see, it has a little, let's see here, little lip on the front.
Okay.
So it catches up underneath the keyboard. So mechanically attaches. Um, and piece of aluminum with serrations in it. So easy to clean, lasts a long time, and is surprisingly comfortable.
Great. I noticed that this keyboard is kind of pure white. I assume that the RGB or the LED, depending on which one you choose, add a lot of variety to that. But what was the sort of decision making behind the aesthetics with this line?
Yeah, so we offer this keyboard in both black and silver.
Okay.
So you could have the option. Okay. But yes, it has 16 billion colors. It comes with onboard memory. So it has 7 dynamic color options on board. And then we also have um, a Cherry utility where you can program your custom macros or your custom color layout to match whatever decor or your game, whatever format you want.
Great. So that actually leads me to a few questions. But before I move on, just really curious, what type of connectivity does this have? Is this purely wired? Is there a wireless option or?
Yeah, right now we're focusing on wired. Um,
Okay.
and, and when we get into the end of next year, you'll see a wireless version from us.
Great. So that actually leads me to my next question then is we're focusing on this one keyboard right now, but you said you had like 7 new products, right, in this line? So like
Correct.
what else can you have to share with me?
So unfortunately, I did not bring any additional ones in the room, but
No worries.
it's going
Juicy
back to our
details also work for us.
so going back to our switch lineup, we upgraded the MX series to Hyperglide in late 2020. We came out with a Viola the year before that and introduced that at CES. And we have a few keyboard manufacturers using that Viola. Part of this line, new MX Professional line, will launch also our Viola keyboard. So if you're not familiar with that, Tom's Hardware did a great write up on that. So very appreciative for that.
Of
Um,
course, you
it,
can of course check that out in our on our website, and I will do my best to link that in the comments a little bit later.
and so as folks probably know, on top of that, that ultra low profile switch, which has been launched into Alienware M15R4 and M17R4 flagship gaming laptops. Um, that is selling quite well. and we are about to double our production capacity on that switch. So very exciting, and we expect to see those kind of products permeate through our lineup in the next year and a half.
Great. So just there was a little bit of terminology in that for people who aren't fully aware, what does upgrading to hyperglide mean?
So it is it's a we kind of changed the plastic around a little bit to add supports, but different format for supporting the key switch and the movement of the plunger. But in the end, what you get out of that is reduced bounce. So we went from, I believe it was zero point 0.5 milliseconds down to zero point 0.1, and we doubled the life from 50 million cycles to 100 million.
Great. So then the Viola switch, as I understand it, is sort of a more budget-oriented switch. Mechanical keyboards tend to be fairly expensive, but in my opinion, they're so much nicer to use than membrane keyboards. A switch like this, I think, helps bridge the gap. So, like, what makes Viola switches like more affordable or a good entry point for people?
Yeah, I think we were really surprised the way that the Switch turned out for being the target was to replace rubber membrane switches and sub $100 gaming keyboards. Um, so the feel it ends up to be very similar to the MX. It's 4 millimeters total travel with a pre-travel of about 2 millimeters. So compare that to about 1.8 for your typical MX. And then if you go to speed, you're going to go down from there. Um, we focused additionally on that initial Viola switch at 45 centinewtons to coincide with the reds, and kind of simplified the build. But the ultimate feel and test is comparing it to a rubber dome, and you will experience a very linear, full travel type feel, but there's no squishiness at the bottom that you would experience with a rubber dome.
Right. So, as far as I understand it, a big part of what makes the Viola switches special is they only have like four parts to them, correct? The
Mhm.
socket, the spring, the
Correct.
contact, and then the stem. How are
Yeah.
you able
Yeah.
to maintain the mechanical keyboard feeling, I guess, with such few parts?
It really has to do with the switching mechanism inside, and the way that we utilize the printed circuit board as a component into the switch to do that. So um, can't tell you much more about that.
Understand. So I'm definitely curious to talk about your other switches and your other new products and innovations, especially the ultra low profile. But one of the fun things about the show is taking audience questions. So we have an audience question here from Javier Perea, who asks, any recommended way to clean a keyboard? I thought this would be interesting to bring up and sort of ask the cherry experts themselves.
So, one of our first uses in the US, we were not oriented toward gaming as much as we are now, or the professional user. We were in the retail market. And so, if you go to a store, a grocery store, a Bed Bath and Beyond, many of those retailers carry used cherry keyboards. And the early versions of our retail POS keyboards were actually mechanical. And so they would get really, really dirty. Um,
That's
um,
actually I didn't know that company history. That's interesting.
yeah, and so it was really a great test for the key switch in those really dirty, dusty environments. So while it did get dirty and dusty, it still maintained its feel and use and didn't have an issue. But obviously, to clean them, it depends on which kind of keycap material you have, so you need to be careful about that. But obviously, a damp cloth, it's not a great idea ever to dump anything down your keyboard. Um, and typically some percentage of alcohol solution is fine, but I would be more concerned about the keycaps. If you look at our manuals for any of our products, we will recommend what cleaners to use.
Awesome. Do you have like something I'm curious about with cleaning keyboards? It's like if stuff gets stuck underneath your keyboard, do you recommend like removing the keycap or like getting in there with compressed air, maybe using a Q-tip and poking around? What's the best way to get like at the stuff that's stuck inside as opposed to just the surface?
This was this would be a great idea for a TikTok video where we have people show us how they go about doing it.
Oh my
But
gosh, keyboard TikToks just are blowing up right now.
yeah, there's it just depends on what it is, right? If it's a crumb or something, if you can blow it away, obviously air is the best, right? It's so the electronic spray cans of air are fantastic for stuff like that. But if you get something gooey in there, then yes, you're going to have to move over to using maybe some gauze or a Q-tip, something like that, to try to get that off.
Awesome. So this is another question from Javier. Is a good way to sort of move us on to talking about the rest of Cherry's new product line. How long is a keyboard designed to last? Like when should I be getting new keyboards and what keyboard should I be looking at?
So I'm going to reference you back to our retail experience. We offer a 5-year warranty on that keyboard, which was in the past mechanical. Um, and yeah, so the expectation is that obviously past 5 years on those for heavy users. So we would see issues with keyboards in under super heavy use after 7, 8 years. But we've had them last as many as 20 years. So uh, it's really about usage and how you type. But the cherry switch is going to last you 100 million cycles plus. You know, when we say 100 million, we've tested beyond 100 million. So we know that we're not, on that edge that you're going to have fallout right after that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's actually difficult for me to picture 100 million despite typing out like Cherry's warranty so many times in all my reviews. So it's good to hear that translated into years for me. But when you do upgrade, you obviously get a chance to move on to all sorts of new tech and new exciting things. So you told me about the Cherry MX 3.0S. But you also have another keyboard coming out, I understand, with ultra low profile switches, correct?
Yeah, so next year, we currently have the MX10 with the low profile switch that'll be introduced as well this year. And then next year, we will have our first ultra low profile switch. So if folks haven't seen it, let's see if we can do this. So this is actually our low profile switch.
Wow, it's just a little chiclet.
It is. It's super slim, and let's see if I can get.
Now, as far as I understand, these are already coming out in some Alienware laptops, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Which is a pretty big like innovation because usually laptops it's difficult to get mechanical keyboards with them, right?
Yeah. Apparently, it's been tried in the past few years, not so successfully. The wonderful thing about the M15 and M17 laptops, gaming laptops from Alienware, is they have introduced the mechanical key switch, ultra low profile key switch, and maintain the overall height of the device. So it is the same thickness as the previous generation overall, and those switches are performing fantastically for folks. So we're getting
Great.
great feedback.
One thing I do worry about with ultra low profile switches is like when you get that small, can you like still feel the noticeable difference between mechanical and membrane with the travel so reduced, I guess. Like what is the benefit to an low profile switch? Why start moving into this territory?
Yeah, so it's really the switch life and the performance. So yeah, you would not expect that you would have a similar feel. To, obviously, the stroke is much smaller,
Mhm.
um, but you do get that tactile popover feel in the switch, which is surprising in such a um, short stroke.
Great. So we kind of skipped over the MX10, right? Is that the one you just showed? Really
Yeah.
quickly to talk about the ultra low profile. I apologize about that. I know we talked
Yeah.
about low profile a little bit earlier, but again, this is a whole keyboard. Is there anything like special with the MX10 that you want to talk about?
So obviously, the this has the low profile speeds, so ultra slim and quick actuating. This keyboard has RGB switches, so 16 million colors, and it's really slim. It comes with a built-in
Oh, nice. Is that
support.
adjustable?
It is not adjustable,
Okay.
but it does automatically fold in and has a detachable cord so that you can easily travel with this. A very portable, high-end um, keyboard, and works again with our utility, software utility, so you can set up your own effects
W
and back.
so obviously we're not able to look at it right now, but the Cherry software utility, you mentioned that you can set up macros with that. You mentioned that you can adjust lighting. Is there anything else that like I could look forward to doing with the Cherry software to really make the keyboard my own?
Not yet, but we are working to expand the functionality. Yes.
Awesome. So one thing I do think about with Cherry is I think about gaming a lot. I know that these are sort of hybrid products, but especially when I hear macro keys, can we maybe look forward to Cherry products that have like dedicated macro keys or other gaming features built in?
Um, we certainly can present that to our development team. We have considered those products in other markets, but not focused right now on the consumer or professional market.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to like throw you hardball questions a bunch.
Well, that's a
Um,
no. We're now a public company, so I have to be careful what I can divulge to you.
well, one thing you can divulge is we again the ultra low profile switches. You talked about those coming in. They've been in laptops so far, but they're going to be coming in a dedicated keyboard soon, correct?
Correct.
And
Yes.
when will that be releasing again?
So we expect toward the end, Q4 of next year.
Awesome. Now,
Yeah.
why would I get I know with a laptop, a big reason for the ultra low profile switch is to maintain the sort of form factor. But in a dedicated keyboard itself, I guess who's the target audience for an ultra low profile switch?
Yeah, so it's going to be a premium featured keyboard, so it'll be obviously wireless. We're going after security, so it'll have AES 128-bit protection on that, similar to some of our other keyboards in the consumer market right now. Um, but yeah, it's really for going after those people that really like the low profile um, chiclet type feel and trying to get them to recognize that they don't have to have a bottom out mushy key. You'll
Yeah,
uh,
that's one thing I really like with these switches and with the violas is sort of evangelizing mechanical keyboards, I guess. When I first started using them, I guess in my late teens, they kind of changed my life, and I didn't even realize that they were a thing before then. So I guess these products being sort of hybrid products or professional oriented will help get mechanical keyboards in the hands of more people. But any sort of plans on making them the mechanical keyboard market more accessible?
Yeah, I hope eventually that, more people try the mechanical keyboards and understand that there's different variations, that they're not the old clunky IBM style switches of the 70s and 80s, right?
Oh
Um,
my gosh, our editor in chief loves those, though. He loves feeling like a hacker with an old terminal. He's a little upset that they don't make those like they used to anymore, but
Well, and we have a wide community of folks that, we're still working to make happy there. And, we'll actually be coming out with two community switches next year. So we're excited about those too. But
oh, awesome. So Avram Pilch, our editor in chief, if you're watching, you might want to keep your eyes peeled for those.
yep, if you're familiar with the Nixie switch, then yep, look out for us.
So, I know you showed off a mouse earlier. Obviously, that's got a little to do with keyboards, but that's its own thing. Can you show
Right.
that on camera again, or
Uh,
sort of
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
ergonomic design?
Yeah, so we're a full line manufacturer. So we have keyboards, mice, number pads. In the US, we operate in multiple verticals. We support healthcare, government security, industrial, and office. So like I said, we have a full portfolio of products, and we really focus on that feel because, that you're going to spend so much time with your keyboard, that we want to make sure that it's a great experience and people don't have that fatigue. So we pride ourselves on building products that feel differently. And, because we started on the mechanical side and we understand that, as I said before, it's so important to carry across all of our products.
Awesome. So I know Cherry has keyboards, Cherry has mice. I believe you have headsets too,
We
correct?
do. Actually, hold on one sec. I put
Oh,
it across
nice.
the table. Yeah, we are about to launch a headset. Um, and so we're also excited about this. So um, it's 7.1 surround sound. See
It
if I
looks like it's a little off camera. Okay.
better.
Now it's a bit more center. Oh,
Okay,
now we can see the whole thing.
perfect. Um, 50 millimeter drivers. As I said, surround sound, um, adjustable, kind of a premium feel. It's going to be around an MSR of around $89. It has detachable cord. I'm afraid to plug them in, but
Is it
uh,
a 3.5 millimeter connection or USB or?
yep, USB.
Okay.
And the logos will light up, and there are function buttons on the end.
Oh, great.
So,
I always
yeah,
love to hear 50 millimeter drivers. You'll be surprised how many premium headsets I encounter that do not have those.
yeah, super great feel, comfort. They're not totally noise canceling, as you could tell from the muffs, but enough in a typical office environment, so that you don't get the heat that you would get from a really sealed up.
Yeah, looking at that muff design, are those on ear headphones then, as opposed to like over ear?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, great.
Over.
So if
Yep.
you're not aware, there's like two different types of, I'm talking to the audience, of course, there's two different types of headphone design. There's on-ear headphones, which kind of like sit on the side of your ear, and then there's over-ear headphones like these, which will go over your ear entirely and sort of cover them up. Which one you prefer depends on personal preference. Sometimes over ear headphones can be a little too isolating for people. I actually got these specifically because they're open back. So I can hear sound through them. But yeah, on ear can be good for people with glasses. But it's cool to see Cherry branching out beyond keyboards. What's the reason for getting a sort of whole Cherry ecosystem going on?
Yeah, so obviously we are looking to the entire office experience, whether that office be uh, your work environment in your business or at home. We want to expand on the desktop to provide greater solutions and um, provide people with access to the quality of products that Cherry provide.
Awesome. So I have another viewer question here. I don't think you, from the way you were saying earlier, I don't know if you can answer it. I think it's about the Nixie switch. But it says elaborate, please. I assume that's all sort of stuff that's, you said you're a public facing company and there's stuff that you can't tell us. But I thought I'd do the viewer a question and try to see if I could get more from the stone.
um, Yeah, I'm not don't want to commit to a time frame right now because we don't
Mm-hmm.
have specifics. Obviously, we are very busy with production of key switches, and so it's been a struggle to keep up with manufacturing. But we do have them designed, and we're in process. Um, there's a bunch of information online on um, on blogs about what the Nixie switch is, and so I
Mm-hmm.
would encourage folks to go on there and understand what it is and why people are excited about it.
Awesome. So
Hey,
same viewer, different line, Cherry monitors. What else could we see Cherry expanding to in the future?
we do have a couple other things that we're working on that are very close to fruition, but I can't speak to them. Sorry.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing what you're able to share today, though. So I know that you brought a few products to show us. You brought the MX 3.0S, the MX10, the headset. You showed us the switches a little bit. Is there anything that you've brought with you that you haven't had a chance to show off on camera yet?
No, that's pretty much all I can show you today.
Okay. I know that you had the switch tester earlier, and you kind of froze when you were showing it off. I think it's probably just a good way to show off all the different types of switches that Cherry makes.
Yeah, and keep in mind this is just the MX series, and this doesn't include some of the specials.
Great. So what colors do we have on there? I see red. I see blue. I see
Right.
blacks on there.
Yep, red, black, brown, blue, silent reds, silent black, and silver speed on here.
Great. And just like a quick breakdown of those then, like reds are the quick ones, blues are the more sort of tactile feeling ones, browns offer a sort of in between, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
They're a little bit more forced than black, so it goes red 45, black, and then brown as far as increasing force from 45 centimeters.
So if I'm just getting into mechanical keyboards, I started with reds because I like to game, but I say that with such shame in my voice. But what would you recommend as a switch for me? If I'm just getting into mechanical keyboards, let's say I work 8 hours a day and then I come home and I maybe play a couple hours of Call of Duty or whatever.
So I probably should not admit this, but I really do enjoy the low profile switch. Um, I I don't do a lot of gaming anymore. I work too much at night, but the low profile switch for me. I have a Corsair keyboard at home that I use, and it is going to be now replaced. Now that we have our own keyboard, I will get myself an MX10 low profile. Yeah, I enjoyed that quick action, and my hands are not huge, so I like a keyboard that's short, and I don't have to reach and strain myself very much. So that works great for me.
I have a Corsair K70, I think, in the office with a cherry red switches on it that I originally bought for gaming. And then we started moving back to the office recently. And it's just like, I need something to replace this awful keyboard they're giving me. But it's maybe a little too gamery. So I might have to look into that low profile switch for the office. Which actually leads me to another great viewer question. So we have Javier Perea back again asking, who are the biggest consumers of cherry switchers? Gamers are where I think of, but I know a lot of typists also like to use cherry switches, correct?
Yeah, that's true. We have obviously gaming is the largest consumer of cherry switches. today. In the past, it was very professional users, so professional typists, stenographers, um, people who do a lot of coding. They're sitting with their keyboard um, for 12 hours a day. Those kind of people recognize the value of in the feel difference of having a mechanical keyboard. So
Awesome. When did you start to see that sort of switch happening where a lot of cherry market share, I guess, tended to be taken over by gamers?
well, yeah, I would say in the mid 90s,
Okay.
that really started to happen. Yeah. So,
So I'll go back to when I was like 4 years old and tell myself to start investing in cherry.
yes.
Great. So we have another viewer question. Hybotics asks, I can be rather heavy on the keyboard. I like some tactile feel, but otherwise prefer quiet. Would this be a brown switch or would another switch work better for them?
So, I would start with the red if they haven't tried the red silent. It does have a slightly different feel to it than the regular reds because of that damper at the bottom. And just if you want silent, that's I think the best bet. But
Awesome. Well, now you talk about like dampeners, but we've been talking about silent switches this whole time, but we haven't really gone into what makes them different. Regular reds, I know from experience, they can get a little loud, but maybe not as loud as like the clicky tactile switches, linears. What makes silent reds even quieter than those?
so there's a patented design in the damper in the material that we use and apply to that switch. Um, I wish that I could. Sorry, I can't really tear it apart to show
Okay.
you, but
Gotcha. So
um,
no secret recipe revealing here right now.
yeah, sorry.
I guess a follow-up question then from Hybotics is they're not a gamer, would love to have a nice mechanical keyboard, had carpal tunnel surgery on both wrists. That actually leads me to a great question. Even beyond keyboards, a lot of us have carpal tunnel now, whether from typing a lot or gaming all the time. Do you have any suggestions for people with, maybe disability issues, how they should go about typing or what sort of products they should maybe look at?
Yeah, so as I'm slouching over my computer to try to get the right distance from the camera to me because I'm not using an external, um, it's really important to have the correct posture and to have the correct elbows position relative to your keyboard and the tabletop is paramount. Making sure that your angle of your wrists is not extreme and that you don't have to stretch across the keyboard a lot, right? So, some people are even looking toward TKL versions of a keyboard to kind of get, those keys squeezed down. If you're not using a number pad a lot, there's different formats for you to consider, not just the ergonomics of the.
That's a very good question that we haven't talked about, or very good point. So I'll see if I can try to raise it up. But so I'm using a TKL keyboard right now. This is, I'm sorry, not a Cherry keyboard. It's a Razer Huntsman that the company gave me. But as you can see, it doesn't have a number pad on this side that I'm kind of gesticulating to or trying not to drop the keyboard. That's something that a lot of gamers again like because it gives them more room to move their mouse around their desk. But it's just like one of many different types of layouts. There's also like 65%, which drops it down to just like the main keys plus I think the arrow keys. I think 60% cuts out the function row.
Yep.
Do you have Cherry keyboards looking to like the ones you showed off were full size, but are you looking at any other form factors?
Yeah, so one of the ones that I didn't bring today, that's one out of that seven that will be in the MX Pro series, is a TKL RGB red silent switch. It's obviously the full travel version MX. Um, And we are also coming out with a scissor type keyboard in a TKL format as well, which doesn't have the height, obviously non-mechanical, but um, we're having great success in the marketplace, B2B, B2C, so business to business, business to consumer type business with that keyboard. So we're about to launch that TKL version of the Stream. We already have multiple other versions. If you give that a shot, I think you'll really like that keyboard for general use. I know we're here talking about mechanicals, but obviously, as I said, we want the right keyboard in the right person's hands. And
Yeah,
so,
thank you. That's a good point. We've been, singing the praises of mechanicals this whole time and talking about the intricacies of how the switches work. But truth be told, still, most people probably use membrane just because it's what comes with their computers. So, like, what sort of is Cherry looking to? You said you had membrane keys. You said you had like scissor keys. But what is Cherry looking at in the non-mechanical space?
yeah, so as I said, Dan, we are a major supplier of to consumers in Europe. And so a lot of folks know us in the US for our mechanical keyboards and don't even know that we are a full line manufacturer. We have introduced a full line of new office products in the last 2 years, including the mouse that I just showed. We have anywhere from, as I said, a $15 membrane keyboard all the way up to a very high performing scissor mechanism with Bluetooth, wireless, AES encryption. So a bunch of great options for home or portable office work. Um, the the feel on the Stream is exceptional. If I'm not using my mechanical, I'm using my Stream.
Where can I buy, living in the US before the stream, I did a little bit of research to try to like find the web pages for these Cherry products. And I noticed it was actually a little difficult for me. Maybe it's a little easier in Europe to buy direct like Cherry products as opposed to like an Asus keyboard that has Cherry in it. But where can I find Cherry products if I want to like deck out a Cherry keyboard, Cherry mouse, Cherry headset, etc.?
Yeah, so we are establishing right now our own shop on Amazon, so we can drive business there. Watch out for that. I think we have 6 or 7 products online already and growing. But if you can't wait or you don't see the product that you want online in our own online store, Office Depot, Staples, um, those CDW, those guys obviously carry our products that carry a pretty wide swath of our portfolio. Um, Folks like Best Buy, Micro Center, we're growing and what we're having them carry.
Awesome. I was going to say cool, but I'll let David James do it. Say cool, about time. But I have another question from Hybotics. A wireless mechanical keyboard would be awesome. Guess less a question, more a comment. Those do exist, Hybotics. If you want to read our best keyboards list, you can find some of those on there. A lot of them have 2.4 gigahertz for low latency, but some of them have Bluetooth 5 as well. I noticed that you're talking about that, but good to know maybe for Cherry going forward with any keyboard products they might be making. As for stuff that Cherry already sells, though, I have another question from Javier Perea. Does Cherry make keycaps too? A lot of mechanical keyboard fans love to really deck out and decorate their keyboards. So, like, can Cherry get in on that game or?
So, folks probably didn't know that Cherry, in its history, used to own GMK,
Oh, shoot.
and and so we actually sold off that business. Um, I It was before me, so I don't know the rationale for that. Obviously, we're proud of the continued reputation they have for providing quality keys, and that's they're carrying on our tradition without our name.
Great. So we
So,
have a little bit of an endorsement going on. Hope you don't get in trouble if I say that. But before we close out the show, just to sort of clear up what we've been talking about, we have another hybotics question. Are there two different red switches? You mentioned the regular reds and the silent reds, but I know there's a lot of different varieties of these switches. There's also the RGB ones, and then there's like switches that are like reds, but they're the Cherry MX Speed or whatever. Just
yeah.
well, how do I not get lost in the woods looking at these?
That's a really good question. I don't think we've done a great job on our website explaining all the different switches that we have and the formats. It's getting just really heavy to have on a web page because there are so many. But to answer your question directly, yes, there are reds, which are red. Sorry, I should start over. There are red MX series keys. There are red MX silent keys, which are kind of that pinkish red. And then there are low profile reds. Um, and so there are really three different flavors of those right now. And then obviously you can get them in RGB or non RGB formats.
Great. This is actually a question for me specifically. We've been talking about cherry switches in existing keyboards, but say I'm like building a keyboard from a kit or from scratch. Uh, can I go ahead and just like buy switches directly from Cherry, like in a bag or whatever?
So not yet, but as we're building on our Amazon store, we are, considering that. But if you go to many of the enthusiasts in the United States, those enthusiast sellers, we provide switches directly to them. You can buy quantities of 10 or 50 from them typically. So yeah, that,
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, regardless of your preferred format, you have a way to get cherry switches in your keyboard.
yep.
Great. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, Dale, that we have not been able to touch on yet?
I just wanted to make a comment about the ultra low profile in the future keyboards coming. That will be a wireless mechanical keyboard, and that will also have many different connection formats.
Awesome.
I
That
can say it
sounds
that way.
like you can't tell us completely, but I can kind of insinuate what that's going to be. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dale. We're reaching up on time here, but I really appreciate you coming on, answering viewer questions. Oh, we have our friend Hybotics again says their name is Dale too. Great names. That's wonderful.
Awesome.
They also asked, I think we're helping them build a keyboard. They asked, do the MX Reds have any tactile feel at all? I believe they have a little bit, but you might want to
Just
go to browns for that, which are a little like reds, but have a little tactile bump on them.
correct. Yep, exactly.
Awesome. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Dale. Showing off the new product line, having a little Q&A with our viewers. We always love to get this expert knowledge.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody who asked questions. Really appreciate your interest in Cherry products. And we're available if you have questions, need support directly. Please see our website. We're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Awesome. So upcoming Cherry products like the MX 3.0S, we will go ahead and be covering those on Tom's Hardware as we hear more about them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So please keep an eye out. In the meantime, we have the Tom's Hardware show every Thursday. So keep an eye on our socials to see what the next topic will be about. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us, audience. And thank you again for joining us, Dale.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.